Let's dive now into module 3 and let's talk about the performance testing end of things when it comes to your assessment piece. There's really two uses, I think, for performance testing as a tool and as a method for your athletes. The first is the idea of testing and assessing daily and weekly readiness, how your athletes are tracking on a day-to-day basis, and are they trending in the right direction, or are they burning out and overtraining and sort of dropping down? So think of that as your ability to be flexible and dynamic in how much work they should do. The second piece is using testing to monitor and track long-term progress. So month, on year, are our athletes jumping higher, running faster, adding muscle mass if that's a goal, improving their strength, improving their durability. So those factors are our long-term progress. Now you can use these at the same time, and you can use your readiness tests to test long-term progress and vice versa, but they're really the two ways we want to analyze and use this data. So first, let's focus on the readiness testing side of things. With readiness testing, power, speed, and reactivity are much more sensitive to fatigue than strength and fitness are. So you're much more likely to lose power, speed, reactivity, change of direction capacity than you are strength or energy systems. So we tend to stay pretty strong even under fatigue, but that's not as important. And you think about how important power and speed are in sporting performance, we really see that drop there. So vertical leap drops, speed and velocity, running technique, change of direction, all those kind of factors are what really are affected by fatigue. And so doing tests regularly to test that and to assess what's going on with that is really, really valuable. The tests you use need to be short and they need to fit seamlessly into the training process. So you need to be able to do your readiness testing in a way that athletes don't feel like they're being tested every week. So they should be able to do this a couple of seconds, a minute tops, and be done with the test. Or even better, make it part of or make it an exercise itself so that athletes are just doing their training and you're collecting data as a result of that training. Higher precision equipment is required when it comes to picking up these fluctuations because we're talking in hundreds of seconds or very short amounts of time and very short changes, very small changes in quantitative values. So you do need higher precision equipment, force plates, linear positional transducers, whatever it might be, high precision cameras. We need this sort of higher end sports science technology in order to pick up these changes. So it's a little tricky to do with eyes. Another factor as well, and this is why you want your tests to fit seamlessly into the training process, is that athlete motivation can dip a little bit when it comes to readiness testing and doing it again and again and again. So it will be a factor when it comes to the quality of the data you get out of your readiness test, because it can become quite cumbersome if an athlete, we have to do that test thing again, and it takes a couple of minutes to set up, and sometimes the technology doesn't work, and it's a whole thing. So you want to try and incorporate it into your training process so it just seamlessly fits in, you're picking up the data, and you're looking for red flags. So readiness tests, here's some of the favorite ones we like. Jumping. Pretty straightforward. A lot of athletes jump as part of their sports. Jumping is a very simple test. There's not much complexity to it. There's not much risk for injury for athletes who are conditioned and familiar with jumping, so you can do it quite well. From a metrics point of view, we're looking at peak force, peak velocity, rate of force development, and eccentric velocity. So how fast they can drop into their movement as well. Force plates are great for this. Linear positional transducers are good as well. You can use just vertical jump height, as in how high they can reach on something like a Vertec, but you do want some more sensitive data from something like force plates or linear positional transducers. We did a whole module on jump testing, which is linked below in this unit as well, so you can refresh yourself on that stuff. And I think that's probably the most common way you'll see this thing done as well, this stuff done. Next, we're looking at isolated tests. So hamstring, groin, rotator cuff, hip external rotator. We're looking at strength, so just force, but we're also looking at rate of force development. So if you have technology that allows you to see the rate of force development, particularly peak rate of force development or force developed in the first 100 or 200 milliseconds, that allows you to see not only how strong they are, but how quickly they can summate that force. Because like I mentioned before, strength tends to be maintained under most fatigue circumstances, whereas power is not. So we can see that velocity drop or that rate drop if we can measure rate of force development as well. Reactivity is a really valuable test too. So continuous jump and hop tests are really valuable. So looking at hopping contact time or contact to flight time ratio or cadence are really valuable tests. And also looking at cadence over multiple ones and whether it fatigues quickly or whether an athlete can maintain a certain cadence or a certain flight time to contact time ratio, whatever you're looking for. If you can maintain that, that's really valuable too. And then the last thing that you can measure as well is lifting velocity. So using a linear positional transducer on your barbell, measuring output and effort on your lifts, on your warm-up sets, on your working sets, across an entire exercise, gives you good measurements for how much an athlete is attacking their lifting, how much effort they're putting in, or whether they're fatigued and they're not working as hard as they might normally. This also helps you provide and gives you data on fatigue percentage across sets, so how much their effort is dropping across the number of sets, and also provides a dynamic rating of perceived exertion and neural freshness score as an athlete's moving through their stuff and through their efforts.